got baptized by a streetcar.
You winning over here in Tetris?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get all the blocks stacked up right so this thing will run. They didn't really give any instructions on this deal, and I'm not really good when I don't have instructions. Have you ever played Tetris? If you get like 3 or 4 of these blue ones in a row, right, that means you win.
I think you're thinking of Connect 4.
Oh yeah, you're right, That's Connect 4. Wrong game. Okay, I get it now. Alright.
Basically, that's Ohio weather.
Yeah. So I'm literally getting into this for the first time. This is my target air fuel ratio table. Now, I was dumb earlier and I was like looking through this map, right? And I did my conversion for VE, and I put all my numbers in that I thought it was going to be for VE, and I looked at the fuel pounds per hour and it was like 1,000 pounds per hour, 1,500 pounds per hour for like 60 pounds of boost. And I'm like, that's not right, because the Nova would have been like somewhere around 6,000 or 7,000 pounds per hour around there. And I know this thing's not going to use a sixth of the fuel the Nova is going to use. And then I remembered I have my target air fuel ratio set for 14.0 over the whole thing. So I was like, oh, that's why. Is that all Chinese to you?
Explain to me in basketball terms.
So,
Point guard goes here.
all right, so here we go. Ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
So in the Holly, you have your engine parameters, 372 cubic inches. And our load sensing is going to be speed density. So that means when you go here, this is speed density. This is how it computes how much fuel the engine needs to run. It has a conversion table where you can convert it to volumetric efficiency. Now that's a whole nother video and story, but basically the engine's probably going to idle somewhere around 40 to 50% volumetric efficiency, and then as it gets into the upper RPM range on no boost, it should be around 80-90%, and then on a bunch of boost it should be 105 to 115%, somewhere there. So
how does that work? How can it be more than 100?
Because you're adding a fuck ton of air that the engine wouldn't normally take in, and you generally want to be on the richer side to be safe. So if the engine's 100% efficient, but it's got all that boost flowing through it and all that heat, it's going to be on the lean side. So you want it to be 110 to 150% efficient normally, at least that's what I've found on the Nova. So yeah, so it takes all that into consideration. You put in your target air fuel ratio, and it basically creates like an algorithm as to how much fuel it needs to use. Up here in this area that's white, that is the area that I cannot go into because my injectors will not flow enough fuel to make that happen. That's why it's white up there. So my limit is about 40 pounds of boost on those injectors at 8,800 RPM. So at least with that target air fuel and that volumetric efficiency. So it's like a big algorithm. So like if I want to idle at 4.9 air fuel, it's going to use approximately 24 to like 45 pounds per hour, probably somewhere in there. So we'll see if that's right. We'll see how it idles when it first starts, but I know that the Nova like to idle around 40 pounds per hour, 45. So this one should probably idle around like 30, 25 to 30, I would guess. We'll see.
Nothing. Yep. Yep, just started.
See if there's anything in it. I seen some black stuff floating around.
Yeah, it might have been just in the bucket, but
Yeah, that bucket wasn't the cleanest, but
It's I mean, let's look at the one that was on the Nova and try to set it pretty similar to where it was.
Oh, I know it's not even close to that.
Because it's the same regulator, same pressure injectors, should be pretty close to the same. If we just measure how far up the stud is.
Yeah, I know it's not even close to that.
Yeah, it needs to go down like ½ an inch almost.
Yeah, because
a quarter inch.
I had to have it all the way up to get that spring in there. That might be why it's not doing its deal.
So right now, we tried to prime the fuel system, and we noticed we weren't getting anything returning back to the tank, so we're going to take this regulator apart and see what's going on. There's really not much to it.
There's nothing to this whatsoever.
So this should be on the top, right? Am I
This
wrong?
is how it came apart, just like this, when I changed the spring.
Well, why don't we take the one from the Nova apart and see if it's any different?
This right here, all I did was take this top off, take this spring out, put that spring, set this on there like so, and put the top back on. That's all I did.
Do you want me to hold down on it for you so you can...
Well, I just gotta try to hold down around this. Pull up on the center of this. This right here, I wanna see if this moves up, because see how it looked like it's inverted?
I was helping.
See that? That's what it's supposed to do right there.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's working the right way. Let's just push up on that to let it bypass past it. It's not doing that. This spring is taller. You want it? I was gonna put the spring that was in it originally and see what it builds. Okay. See if it does anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the only thing we changed.
You got a Dart update?
And I feel
No.
alright.
Absolutely not. Do you have a knee update?
It's kneeing.
It's not kneeing very well.
My hamstring isn't stringing very well.
No, it's not hamming.
It's not hamming. Not very hammy.
Oh God, we're not funny.
Alright, so we have taken the regulator that was on the Nova and put it on this because they're the exact same. And I mean, there should be no issue with this one. We've tested it and run it on the other car, so let's see what happens. The only thing that's possible is that this line is supposed to be the...
I think that's supposed to be the
I mean, that can't be though, because it's been dry. It's not like this is the fucking supply, because it's dry. It would be pushing it to the bottom of that.
Go ahead.
So, I've tried 2 different regulators and they both do the same thing. This is the one off the Nova, and every time I turn the fuel pump on, it doesn't return anything. It just builds up pressure until the pump slows down and almost stops the pump, so I have to shut the... I've tried,
Okay.
like I said, both regulators. The bottom port is the return, and then the rails are getting fuel, and I've got fuel to the sides, but I can't get anything out of the return. And I tried it with 2 different regulators.
Okay. Are you sure that the inlet is correct?
Yeah,
You got the inlet?
yeah, we flushed the lines out earlier, and the lines go from the pump to that Y, and then feed the front of the rails. And that's the feed, so they go through the rails and they come back to here, and then they go, the right side goes to this side and then the other side goes to this side. So both rails go into here and then the return's out the bottom, and I'm not getting anything in the return line at all. It's dry.
Okay. What are you trying to set the rail pressure at?
90.
And do you have any idea how much pressure it's building?
It'll shoot up to over 90 and then shuts the pump off almost, so I flip the switch off. It slows the pump down like it's building up back pressure.
Okay. So can you manually roll the pressure back, loosen that stop nut on the top, and turn counterclockwise the adjuster on top? Have you tried that?
I haven't tried that, no.
Yeah. Now back that out.
Okay.
See how far it'll go out first.
Well, it goes quite a ways. Like that's about it.
All right. Once you start to feel the tension come off of it, stop. You should be able to feel a little spring pressure against it.
That right there is like right just touching the spring
Okay.
pocket.
All right, go ahead and tighten the jam nut
Okay.
right there. All right, now try it, see if anything returns.
Same.
So investigate and see if that regulator, I mean, you guys, is that the same regulator you use on the Nova?
Yeah, we've tried both the new one and the old one, and they're both the same regulator.
And you guys plumbed them both the same, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, ask Chief.
The return is definitely out the bottom,
Yeah.
so there can't be
So
any other.
usually the inlet is in one side and pressure out is on the other side. Return is out the bottom, but that's not how you're plumbing that.
Let me look at the instructions real quick and see if there's an inlet and an outlet.
Okay, so that doesn't matter. So can you take the return line off and blow air to the tank?
You would think we'd get a trickle out of there.
Yeah, we didn't even get any fuel out of the bottom of that thing.
Really?
I mean, it's got a little bit of wet in it.
Is it?
All right, so just real quick, just kick the pump on and see if it shoots out the bottom of that regulator.
All right.
Just
It's
on off.
gonna be a quick. Here, I'll do it real quick. Ready?
Just real quick.
Ready?
Yeah. Again. Again. Nothing. And then the pump rolls backwards.
There's something, the way it's plumbed, we're missing something, Bubba.
It doesn't.
Ask Chief, call him or text him. All right, love you. Bye.
Love you too. You gonna weld it back together? You gonna weld it back together?
Yeah, I'm patching the hole and then I'm putting a couple more trap doors and some stuff in there to keep the oil where it needs to be anyway, hopefully.
Giving it the old Jackie fix kit.
What's that?
Giving it the Jackie fix kit. A little patch the hole here, put the rod back together with some JB Weld.
Yep. Yeah, that's it. A lot of filler rod in the Jackie stuff.
So I'm dealing with an issue with a EFI regulator, and I've got my fuel system all plumbed and everything, and I've just got the Aeromotive. It's like a 13137 high flow EFI regulator, and I got the rails going to each side of the regulator, and then the bottom is the return. The same electric 10.0 fuel pump on it for right now, just to get it started. When I turn the pump on,
That fucker's not
it pressurizes the system, but it doesn't go through the return. Like, it's not pushing anything out the return. And I've tried two different regulators. The one that was on the Nova is the same one, and it's doing the same thing. It's the weirdest shit ever. I don't get it.
Okay, so you got, it's an Aeromotive EFI regulator, right?
Yeah, the high flow EFI regulator with the 12 ORB
tall one?
ports.
Or
It's
the regular one?
it's the regular one, but it's high flow. It comes with two different springs. The one spring is good for like 75.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about now. Okay, and you have it plumbed from the fuel cell into, well, obviously fuel cell pump, I guess.
Yeah.
From the pump, so it's electric pump. So from the pump to, what do you wide of both rails, or you go through one rail and see over to the other one and back, or what?
I'm wide to both rails from the front, so I'm feeding the front of the rails with a Y off the supply from the pump.
And you have the spring back way off or whatever.
Yeah, it's backed all the way off.
How much pressure is it making?
It tries to make like 90 and then almost shuts the pump off.
I'm getting ready to say, I bet it's fucking wide open, boy.
Yeah.
Did you change the spring or anything in it?
We tried both springs and it didn't seem to matter.
Oh, do you have the manifold hooked up to it though?
Yeah.
The intake or whatever, vacuum port?
Yeah, I've got that hooked up.
Usually the only time that they won't push anything out the bottom is if the vent's plugged on the regulator, but you're hooking the vacuum to the intake. So if that's hooked up, then it should be able to breathe just fine.
Well, it's going to MF Fab. It's like a vacuum block. So maybe there's a problem internally in that vacuum block.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's probably a deadheaded port on the vacuum block instead of or it's either that or it's a common port. What vacuum block is it?
Motorsport Fab makes it. It's got like 4 ports on the bottom and 2 inlets on the sides.
Okay, so should we try hooking it up without hooking this up to it and see if it flows through?
Just unhook the
vacuum?
the vacuum port
Yeah.
from the regulator.
Okay.
And see if it'll push through.
We'll try
It
that.
has to breathe, you know what I mean? That's the vent for the diaphragm, so it has to be able to breathe or else it just deadheads against itself.
Right. That's true.
So like, on natural aspirated or nitrous shit, you just put a rock filter in that hole, you know what I mean? So it'll breathe and see if you don't hook it to the manifold or whatever.
Right. I'll bet you that's it, because I'm getting a weird reading on the map too.
It's got 4 holes in the back.
It's got 4 holes in the bottom and then 2 in the sides.
Okay. I'm betting there's an issue there. Usually on those blocks, one of those ports won't be common. I don't know that one. I've never used that one, but
We'll just unplug it. We'll unplug that one, let it go to
yeah, just unplug it,
atmosphere.
let it vent to atmosphere on the reg and see what happens.
All right, we'll try that.
See if it'll do something, and then I'm gonna look up that regulator too, make sure I'm looking at the right field here. It's an aero motor what?
It's a 13137, I think is what it was.
Okay. Yeah, try that and then let me know.
All right, thanks, man.
All right.
I bet you that's it.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I bet you that block, for whatever reason, it can't vent through it.
Let's see if we can adjust this and get it to come up.
It's almost like they get stuck or something.
I don't know, but I've had this completely apart and everything jamming around on it and it was moving free, so turn the pump on and let's see what pressure we get to come up. That's it. That's all it's got.
I'll just set it at 67 in the Holly. That
See if
way
we can
it
get it to
goes.
run. So I need this other spring, needs to be in there. This one is the one I need to put back in it.
So what was messed up with it?
We honestly couldn't tell you. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know.
weirdest shit ever. Like, we took the regulator that was on the Nova, put it on there, and had the same exact problem. And we take the regulator that we had on it that was a problem in the first place on it, and then now it's fine.
The only thing that is done different is we took this out. So if I screw this back on and it won't return, this was our problem the whole time.
But that was on the Nova.
But this, I mean, it flows straight through it, so it
But
shouldn't.
maybe it's turned in a little too far.
I don't know.
Like let's put it in there and see what happens.
It's working. I mean, I didn't screw it into where it's like tight, but tight.
So we have absolutely no explanation as to why
It's just
it wasn't working. Unless that pump's just weak as fuck and it can't even push that spring open barely. Which that doesn't make sense either, because you put more pressure on it, it's fine now.
Gonna have another Mountain Dew.
Got spark, should have fuel.
Should.
See if we got any talent. See if I can get in this fucking truck without tearing the PC up.
Want something to step on? You get in there, baby? Okay, you want me to go?
We have a fire extinguisher.
Yeah, we got one right here.
Have you already seen it that built oil pressure? Like the event
Oh, yeah.
sensor hooked up? It started to build some oil pressure, yeah. But that's right there. So when you go to start it, I just want you to turn that fuel pump on for about 2-3 seconds, let it prime, and then go ahead and try to start it with the fuel pump off. And then if it starts, turn the fuel pump back on.
Okay.
So as long as you hit the starter, it should start, but first prime it, like start it. If it starts, I'll keep it running, but turn the fuel pump on.
Okay.
Once it starts.
All right.
One thing I want to check real quick before we start it. Turn this off. Did you take that thing off out there already? I just want to make sure it's not continuing to spark when we're rolling it over or any of that. It shouldn't, but I just want to double check and make sure when it's killed, it's killed. You know what I'm saying? I should have everything the way it's supposed to be, but I just would much rather double check it. Which we can shut it off by just unplugging the injectors, but or the coil harness.
I roll it over.
No spark? Okay, cool. That's what we want to make sure. Did you tighten all those spark plugs? Oh yeah, they're gonna get methanol. Methanol. That's why.
Good call.
That's why I covered the side of your truck up over there with that plastic.
He's always worried about the food.
I know. Tommy 2 snacks. That's what we need to start calling. Roll it over. So let's remember this is what we ran into with the Nova. That wire, I think I hooked it up the right way.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's getting fuel.
We're gonna see if we can burn up a starter today.
No, we're not. Yeah, see they're right here, Billy. I didn't. 12 volt battery fuel, 12 volt fuel pump. Was it the red one or the green one?
So it was a red one that needed switch 12 volt.
So I need to hook it up so up there's an ignition. Yeah. Okay. It's simple. I can do it real quick.
Turn the ignition off.
Yes.
I love how quick it rolls over. It's like the Nova. It should be because it's got the same starter and battery. So I'm glad we learned a lot of this stuff on the Nova. What is you know, what's right and what's wrong and where everything needs to go with this Holly setup. So at least we know.
Yeah, it's easier each one.
Turn the ignition on. Try it. We'll let the dash come on. Right, ready? Yeah. The dash doesn't have any fuel pressure.
Well, it's because you don't have the pump on. It may not have enough pressure to fire the...
I don't feel them clicking. I have my hand on them. Can we power probe the injector wire to see if it's clicking or something?
Remember we had this same thing with the Nova and it was one of those wires I have to have hooked up. I can't remember if it was the red and the green one or just the red one. Go ahead.
No.
Doesn't have enough fuel pressure to drive it?
Yeah. It's gonna have to have some more prime before you start it.
Probably just leave the pump run since it's down to 60 pounds. To try to start it probably. To keep it up.
Turn the pump on and then try to start it. I wish I could hear it.
Damn you, Billy. So I need to change this spring, right? Obviously probably in this regulator. Or are you gonna fuck with it there first?
I'm giving a little more fuel.
Air fuel spark, okay?
Fuel pump on, start it again. Ignition on. I have no dash.
You when it started?
I have no dash.
No dash now?
Maybe restart ignition, maybe?
Yeah, turn
Cycle it.
No dash is coming on.
It's
Alright,
coming
it's
on.
that wire hooked right there, that white wire. Charlie Brown in the town.
What was that?
That was all the boost.
Charlie Brown in a race car town. I need my water. Hey Bill, your truck runs.
See if we can get it to idle.
We'll figure it out.
Just keep adding more fuel, just like I did on the Nova.
That's what I said, you'll figure it out.
It had enough cranking fuel to start pretty fast.
More cowbell.
But it just needs more to keep it running.
Just need more cowbell.
Especially when it's cold. Engines, when they're cold, need a lot more fuel to stay running when they're hot. That's why there's chokes on like carburetors, to choke off some of the air, to give it a richer mixture.
You just made your dad proud. It's referenced to a carburetor, baby. Just referenced him up. I love hearing you say that.
Hey, it fires.
It's the truth, yeah.
I can't wait to get a mechanical fuel pump on. I've been waiting for a cable from Aeromotive for months and months and months. I think a lot of people have been waiting on cables from what I've heard. Is everything transmission wise hooked up, like convertible to that? No, convertible, it's not hooked up, but the lines and stuff are. It sounds like where the blades are set, it should be good. At idle. It ain't trying to flood out or anything, that's good. Fuel pump on.
Well, the spring that's in it is the one that originally came in that thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't switch over.
It's at 67 pounds of fuel pressure.
And what do those need to have at idle? 90?
It's rated for 90. That's what I got the Nova set at. I remember when we increased the fuel pressure on the Nova, it started to run better. If those don't have a lot of pressure on them, that a lot of times they don't do what they need to do. Let me see what the minimum opening time is on them.
They ain't spit nothing out of the exhaust. You don't have the ignition on if you're waiting to do anything. Ready? I just opened it a little bit. Oh, I'm smelling fuel now. It's actually wet in the pipe right there now.
You got this thing running yet?
No, man. We've been fighting it. Can't figure it out. It's like, so the problem I'm having is on cranking, it gets fuel. When it's in the crank, when it's cranking, it basically runs on the cranking fuel table. So as soon as it gets to the run RPM, which I've got it set at like 400, as soon as it gets to 400 RPM, it shuts the injectors off when it switches to the base fuel table. I can't figure out why. I've been asking a few different people, and it's really strange to me. Like I don't understand why it would do that. But I do remember when I first got that ECU, it was brand new in the box, and we hooked everything up. I hooked the laptop to it, and it didn't require a firmware update, which was strange. In the past, I've always had to do a firmware update on them, but it already had V5 in it. I had to add the ICF tables and everything, but just weird. So I'm doing a firmware update now. Hopefully that does something to fix it. It's almost like the truck is like, no, I don't want to start. Where's the carburetor? It's just fighting me, and I feel like Dad's somewhere in a faraway location with a voodoo truck doll or something. And he's just laughing his ass off.
He's plugging in the harness, unplugging the harness, plugging in the harness, unplugging the harness.
No KFC today, huh? What do you got?
Rob brought me Chipotle.
And Coke in a glass bottle, huh?
That's my Mexican Cokes. They're way better in a bottle.
They are. It's like the old recipe that has the cocaine in it.
Yeah. Alright, so we updated to V6 software, and it seems to be working now. My good friend at On3 Performance, Bob Morrison, sent me a tune file that had all my inputs and outputs and all my crank and cam sensor information and everything to make it run as a small block Chevy, but it's an LS tune file. So it started right up, but it has no timing in it, of course. So I put some timing in it, and it ran for the longest it's ever run just now. We're gonna see if we can keep it running long enough to get a data log and see if the injectors are working properly.
Yeah, it's spitting out all over the side of me. Do a static timing check.
Hey, I think I have the stuff to do the rest of the water pump stuff. It's in the bed of my truck.
Really?
Yeah, it came in. The thing from Speedway came in, the thing from Summit came in. The Summit thing might be an alternator though. We'll see.
Do you want to hear it from the outside?
It sounds really good out here.
Does it?
Yeah, you should get out here and I'll start the
I mean, it's not even close yet.
Right.
I'm just...
You need to get out here and listen though. I'll hit the button and start it.
Yeah, she's fat when you rev it. It runs though, man. Now we just need to clean up the tune. It was just that corrupted firmware. So I bought a brand new Holly right out of the box, and it already had firmware in it. I've never had that before. Usually you have to update the firmware or else it doesn't have anything in it. It already had a version of V5 in it that I've never downloaded on my computer before. I never put that in there, and I uploaded a V5 tune right to that firmware on the ECU, and for some reason it wouldn't pulse the injectors on the run table. We updated to V6, the newest version of Holly's software, and it fired right up on an LS tune file, but with all of my IOs and settings. So then I started putting a little bit of timing in it. I put like 36 degrees in it, and then Rob verified that it was like 35 out here, so we got like 1 degree offset. That's not bad. And then now I'm starting to lean the tune out to where it'll be crisp and not sound really fat out the exhaust. Big shout out to Bob at On3 Performance for helping. Also shout out to Chief for answering my call late at around midnight last night about the regulator. We figured that out. We figured out the tune itself, had to update the firmware, and Bob sent me a tune that was, I think, out of his car or one of the customer cars that he has, and it was good enough to get it running, and I could work with it from there. It was just a corrupted file that was in the firmware, the ECU, I guess, and we downloaded the newest Holly software and it fixed it. Bob was not even at work today. It's a Sunday. He was at home, and his laptop was clear back at On3 Performance, so he actually drove from his house all the way back to get his laptop. That way we could email stuff back and forth. So shout out to him for doing that on a Sunday. On3 Performance, Bob Morrison, great people over there. Chad, make sure you guys support them. Great people over there. Local Ohio business. Always want to support our boys. So thank you to them guys. Thank you for watching, and hopefully we'll be putting the fenders and the doors on this thing soon. I'll be picking those up, putting the rest of the truck together. Should be able to drive around here very soon. So looking forward to it. Thank you guys. See you next time.